So we're going to take just a minute here and talk about the short responses, okay, for your exam tomorrow. You're going to be given 3 of them and pick 2 that you will end up writing about. So just kind of give you some starting points on these. I want to do what we usually do, which is to have a short discussion on this. So let's look at the first one. What is the Edict of Nantes and what events preceded that? So somebody just tell me, what is the Edict of Nantes?
Was that the one that was the religious one, right, in France?
Correct. So the religious one in France.
So basically it legalized religious, it legalized like other types of religions, right? Or did it prevent religious persecution from happening?
The Protestants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it ended the persecution or the
Oh, yeah.
battles.
Okay.
It ended Protestant persecution in 1550.
I don't know the exact date, to be completely honest with you.
Okay.
Okay, so you have the Edict of Nantes. What events preceded the Edict of Nantes? I would be a lot more specific than that if I was going to answer this one.
Oh, so you talk about how like
Wars,
talk about how like the Huguenots were persecuted, and talk about, well, there was a day, right? It was like bloody. I don't know.
So the Huguenots,
The Huguenots, yeah.
yeah.
And so they were. So the French king sent. The French king, he was like a little child, right? Or he was like 13 or
No.
something like that. I thought he was.
Mm-mm.
Well, because I thought someone else made the decision for him to kill the.
That was later.
That was later. That was a different one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Who?
Repealed later because of absolutism?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, relatively repealed. Who issued the Edict of Nantes? What war did the Edict of Nantes kind of end?
the French first. Forgot.
Oh, was it the French? French. Not the French Revolution. I was thinking. Is French Civil War? No, that was never. The War of Religion.
French War of Religion. And the 2 sides were the Catholics and the Huguenots. And who was the leader of the Huguenots?
Well, his name was really basic, right? It was like Charles.
Mm-mm.
Fall.
No.
Oh. It wasn't basic.
It wasn't Charles?
It was not Charles.
James.
Uh-uh.
Was it Henry?
Henry of Navarre.
So was it the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre?
Maybe.
Because that's whenever they killed all the 3,000 Huguenots, right?
I believe so. So you had the French Wars of Religion, right? You've got Henry of Navarre, the Huguenots. They go to war. They have this long, protracted war. The Catholics are fighting against the Protestants. And who wins? The Protestants, led by Henry of Navarre. And he becomes king, correct? Yes, and he issues the Edict of Nantes, which prohibits what? Protestant persecution. And then he promptly does what? After winning the French War of Religion for the Protestants? Huh?
Does he become absolutist?
No.
Persecutes Catholics?
No. He becomes Catholic.
Oh, yeah, okay, so that's the guy, yeah.
And it is through his lineage that you have what dynasty in France?
The Baroque? No.
The Bourbons. So he is the grandfather of, I believe, Louis the 13th. Okay? I believe that's correct. So I would be able to talk about all that. You know, best you can.
Yeah, so the Huguenots went to France, and then they murdered one of the lords or whatever was ordered. They killed 2,000 Huguenots, or 3,000 Huguenots, and that was the St. Bartholomew's Day.
Right. That was when he invited him to get married.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And he still ended up marrying her.
Right, and then he became Catholic. Gotcha.
Yeah. And becomes Catholic. Okay.
So, 'cause that-
Really nailed that one, everybody. How did the Protestant Reformation contribute to religious persecution in Europe during the late 16th and early 17th century? Well, there's a lot there.
So you got England versus Spain
Okay.
after Elizabeth.
No, that was Bloody Mary.
People of different religions were didn't tolerate each other.
Okay.
Queen Mary,
Who was it? King Henry.
King Henry the Eighth, right?
Okay.
King Henry
So
the
he's a Catholic.
became a Protestant, or wanted to divorce his wife, or something like that, because he didn't have a son.
Right.
And so the Catholic Church won't let him, so he just the Protestant Church.
That was Catherine of Aragon.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, so, and then his son became king, or the son out of wedlock or something became king,
Okay, so his son becomes king.
and,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Uh,
How does the Protestant Reformation contribute to religious persecution in Europe?
So,
So,
you talk about, I would just talk
his
about,
background too, right? It was half-
I mean, this is a short response. I don't need that much background.
I would talk about how Mary,
I like that.
At some point, you got to answer the question.
That's good.
I would talk about how Mary persecuted, she was Catholic, and then she persecuted the Protestants.
Okay.
She wanted England to return back to Catholicism.
Why?
I told you why, because she wanted England to return back to Catholicism.
Okay, so, but why did she want them to convert back to Catholicism?
Because
She was mad at her copy.
No, she was mad at her step.
she believed that England should be under the Pope's authority.
Okay.
And she believed in Catholicism, that was her thing, and so she believed that England should return.
So you got Catholics and Protestants going against each other. Okay. Who else is fighting each other? What other religious persecution is happening because of Protestant Reformation?
Well, by this time, Islam was out, right? Out of the picture. No, just. Let's see here.
Y'all need to go look at the 100 Years' War.
Oh, so that was caused by religion,
Right.
right? And so people like.
It started out as a fight for religion.
Started out as a fight for religion because that was in
Germany.
Germany, yeah. And so one of the countries, and so it was like how the dude got thrown out the window or something like that.
Yeah.
And then that really kickstarted the war, and so that was also between Catholics and Protestants, correct?
Correct. And then, but was it only ever Catholics versus Protestants?
No, it started to because different countries had different alliances with religions.
Okay.
Alliances in a sense. So some countries were Catholic, but then they changed to the Protestant cause because they were against other countries or something like that, like France, for example.
Okay.
And so it turned more political than religious at the end because people really didn't care about religion; they cared about other people's, other countries' alliances with others.
Okay.
So that could have probably been a precursor to the First World War as well.
Definitely. I would look up the 100 Years' War.
Was that
Who else is getting persecuted because of the Protestant Reformation? Huh? Yeah, probably. Probably Jews. They usually got persecuted because of everything. Okay? What were the main groups of Protestants?
Huguenots?
Which were actually what?
French.
But what Protestant group are they?
Oh, weren't they?
Methodist.
Calvinists.
Calvinists?
They were Calvinist people. And then
Huh? Lutherans.
And then they had,
Did all the Protestant groups agree with each other?
uh,
Did they persecute each other?
yes. Oh, there were also the Anglicans too.
Okay, that's the Church of England.
Church of England.
Okay. What about the Anabaptists?
Yeah, they weren't really liked by,
Anybody. Right?
yeah. And so wait, where were the Anabaptists from?
They were in the 100 Years' War during that time as
They were
well.
persecuted by everyone because everyone else thought they were stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was Catholic, Protestant, and Protestant intermingling fighting.
What was the biggest form of religious persecution that happened during this time frame? Spanned like several hundred years.
Is it like that we learned like right at the beginning?
Not really.
Inquisition?
Yeah, the Inquisition. The Inquisition is going on through all of this. They're persecuting anybody who's not Catholic. Muslims, Jews. They kicked the Muslims out of Spain, the Jews out of Spain, the Protestants out of Spain. The Protestant Reformation, yeah, it led to Spain saying we need to get rid of anybody who's not Catholic. I mean, you can make the argument.
So this came from the 1200s, right? And the 12 because there were still Muslims in town.
I mean, it extended all the way through all of it, yeah.
1600s.
Yeah. Nailed it.
So,
Explain how absolutists like Louis XIV justified their rule, and how did they keep their power?
God gave them the right to rule.
What is that? How do we say that?
They basically thought that God gave them the power to
Yeah, there's a term for that. No. Divine something. This is really fun.
I want to look it up.
Give me a second, I'll get there.
Is it divine right?
divine right.
Yeah, divine right of kings. And what did they draw from to say in the Bible that they had divine right of kings? The concept that what? That's a religion question.
Yeah, so God gave the kings of like Israel, right?
Well, just that all authority is on earth, it only has their authority because God gave it to them. And so, using circular logic, you could get around to the fact that since I'm in charge, God must want me here. God puts all authority in charge because he's in charge of everything. Therefore, if I'm in charge, that's because God wants me to be in charge, which is, again, a circular argument that doesn't make sense, but that's what they said. How did they keep their power?
Preventing the people to.
King Louis made them stay at his,
Who? King Louis made who?
all the nobles,
Nobles.
stay at his mansion.
Okay?
Versailles, yeah.
What was the point of making them stay at his mansion?
Like distract them from their duties and
Okay?
place his own nobles in the area.
Yeah, so he could restrict what they were able to do, and he could occupy their time in order for him to do what?
Replace them.
To basically replace him with his own people, right? What were some of the ways that Louis did that?
We would like make them fight for his, not fight, but
Yeah, I mean,
fight for
basically.
his approval.
Yeah, his approval, he'd make them kind of like compete for his approval to some sense. And what else?
He so did they have like something like parliament or anything? He never would call meetings.
Yeah.
Wasn't this dude.
hmm
Oh yeah, he wouldn't call me, like it was supposed to have meetings.
Yeah, they're supposed to have meetings. In France, it was called the Estates General.
Yeah, and he just said, I don't need that because I'll set you rules.
Right, so he refused to let anybody have any say whatsoever, right?
And then everyone bowed down to him as well. So like he made it to seem like he was almost he was he like the Sun King
Mm-hmm.
dude?
Yep.
And so he basically like it was almost like prehistoric in the sense that they almost worshipped him as like God. And so he he was like treated just highly everywhere.
But then his son
Was
was not as good of a ruler, right? So he couldn't keep his power because
he wasn't interested.
what made King Louis work was because he was actually a good ruler.
Yeah,
But not everybody can just do what they
okay. I'd look up some stuff on that too. Explain the causes and most important consequences of the scientific revolution.
Increased.
What?
Scientific.
Okay.
Just process. Yeah, just scientific.
Who are some key players in the scientific revolution we talked about?
Galileo.
Galileo, Newton, Copernicus.
That's
What'd you say? Did you say?
Galilee.
Yeah, we said that already.
Oh, my bad. I thought it was Gregory, but
Gregory Galilee. That's his cousin.
Descartes.
I mean, that was more Enlightenment. Copernicus, Kepler. Okay. What were some main inventions?
Telescope.
Telescope.
Idea of gravity.
Okay.
Invention, but like that developed.
Got you.
Mathematical, like how the solar system rotates in an ellipse.
Okay.
Geometry is developed.
Like gravity.
Yeah, but
Gravity.
what's it called whenever you explain the things in geometry? Proofs.
Okay. Proofs. Geometric proofs.
Lots of discovery about astronomy
Okay.
and like orbits.
Okay.
Scientific process.
Scientific method.
Method.
Yeah.
Scientific method.
Was that in deduction?
Deductive.
Deductive reasoning, inductive reasoning, or deductive reasoning, right?
Yeah.
Who came up with the scientific method?
Bacon.
Bacon. Yeah. Yeah. Francis Bacon.
you mean the father? Oh, father.
All right. What were some of the causes of the scientific revolution?
People started to look at the natural world, and they didn't want.
They start to ask questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
they didn't want to have like the old idea of like, oh, religion can cover everything, because they didn't like some of them didn't believe in religion, but then some of them did, but they wanted to find answers, like actual answers, instead of just saying, oh, everything is because God exists.
Okay. What else?
Universities.
Okay.
Because of monotheism, there's not all these myths about God, so there has to be a scientific reason for why the sun moves.
Navigation.
That was a very, very, very big cause.
That one.
The growth of monotheism and the growth of Protestantism and Catholicism believing in one God meant that you could no longer explain natural phenomenon with by just mythologicalizing. That's not a word.
And then navigation too, right?
Yeah. So mythologizing. So you had to
They can assign a different God to different phenomena.
right. So that means that we got to search. Okay. What else? What tends to lead to innovation in thought?
Need.
What?
A need for something they needed.
Well, we just discussed the need. We needed to scientifically understand the world since we can't explain it with just extra gods. What else? What is the number one facilitator of the growth of knowledge?
The expansion of knowledge.
The kings.
What?
The
Yeah,
kings of
spread of
whatever.
information, trade, right?
The ability to spread information. Coming out of the 1500s, 1400s, you have Gutenberg's printing press. Ideas are being able to be spread and written down and printed and shared and thought about by more people in a new way. Coming out of the Renaissance, you also had access to the old works coming from, right, the Middle East,
Classic.
the classics, and then people are going to start looking and thinking about those things in different ways. Okay. That might have been the best one that we've done so far, everybody. Yay.
I thought the Louis one was pretty good.
Yeah, it was okay. What about the consequences? Obviously, we understand the world better, but what's some of the consequences? What was one of the main consequences we talked about? Deism. So one of the main causes was trying to understand the world in a scientific way, because you can't just make it up because of God, because you make it different gods. And then one of the biggest outcomes was questioning whether God existed.
So that led to the Enlightenment, which led to the whatever, like what was it in America?
The American Enlightenment.
No, like the rebirth of religion. That's later, bro.
The Great Awakening.
Yeah, that.
Gotcha. We haven't got there yet.
I know we have.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's a cycle.
Yeah. Deism's a big one.
So you just talk about deism.
Just talk about how people just didn't believe in God.
And how they saw God as like a clock for them.
Yeah.
That's,
He had only like one job and
Yeah. Okay. How are the colonists able to secure help from the French, and what role did the French play in helping America secure independence? That's in the lecture I just posted.
okay. So talk about like the French and Indian War and stuff.
No, not at all. That's one you just need to watch this last lecture to find out about. Huh? Yeah. Lafayette.
So this is the American Revolution.
Yeah, American Revolution.
and then Jefferson was the ambassador.
All right. Yeah, so
Can you
what?
talk about how the French and Indian War influenced that? Because
How?
I want to say that influenced that. Though, right?
How so?
I mean, the French were already against the British, right? And the French and Indian War.
Yeah. But they were against the British, which were the people who are now fighting against the British. So they basically teamed up with the people that beat them.
Correct, because they were. I mean, but would you say that since the colonists are also against the British, that they would want to side with other people that are against the British as well?
Somewhat. But I wouldn't say that led them to securing the help of the French.
No.
I would say that what you're saying is correct, but it doesn't have anything to do with this question.
Treaty, huh?
No. No, it came down to basically a single battle that convinced the French to help us. No.
Of New Orleans.
No.
That was later.
That was later.
That was Civil War, my guy.
No, yeah, it wasn't the Civil War either, but it was the War of 1812.
When who was it? Was it going up? French?
What?
French Revolution, Napoleon.
Okay, so yeah, and then the sixth one, explain the people and countries involved and the significance of the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588. Well, the people, countries involved is pretty easy.
Spain.
Spain. And who beat them?
Britain.
England.
England.
Oh yeah, because that was Elizabeth I, and she sent pirates. She hired pirates, right? To
I mean-
basically mess with the Spanish fleet.
Yeah.
And then
Why did they get beat?
Oh, because the English ships are much smaller, and they were able to maneuver around the big old Spanish ships, correct?
No.
It was about the ships. Could
Not really.
have sworn that's what you said.
No, not so much. The Spanish went up there and a big storm, and it's really rocky in the middle of the English Channel. And a storm basically wrecked like 3/4 of their fleet, and the English beat them. But what are the outcomes? What's the significance of that? Who's now the predominant navy in the world? England. And what are they going to use that navy to do?
We'll conquer new lands.
Yeah, it said that you said in the lecture that the faster, lighter English ships defeated.
Yeah, but that wasn't really why. Bro, it was because this big giant storm rolled in and then wrecked half the ships.
I would have wrote it in my notes.
Nah, I think
Alright.
we didn't have that one.
Okay.
It didn't happen, it's cat.
I'm just saying, like,
He's hard to
What was the significance? What did the English now use their navy for?
English pirating.
cut off.
No, they were already pirating. Now they're going to legitimize their empire by setting up
Trading takes places.
trade routes.
So they're doing what the Dutch were doing with that.
Yes, because now they have the biggest navy in the world that just defeated the Spanish Armada. What's another consequence of the Spanish Armada being defeated? What happened with Spain?
They lose a lot of power and they're in debt.
Yeah, they're in super big debt. They lose a lot of their power. They lose all their money, and now sucks to be them.
But they had colonies.
Yeah, but that's not going to last long without a navy. Basically, they're no longer the preeminent force on the seas. This was really fun, everybody.
Thank you for doing this, Mr. Goodman.
Yeah, I'm so glad I did. Good luck, everyone.